Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's open with a quick slice of small-town life. A Mustang idles at a stop sign. Its driver, an under-30 Karen in training, spots a neighbor cutting his own grass. She rolls down the window, waves him over, and breezily offers $10 a week if he'll handle her sprawling hillside yard as well. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Lady offers me $10 to mow her 2-acre yard while I'm out mowing my own. This one actually happened last year, but it was short enough that I still remember it pretty clearly. I live in a very small town where everybody can more or less recognize everyone else by sight, if not by name. So I have no idea what this lady's excuse is. I was out mowing my lawn, headphones on and music up loud enough to hear over the engine. Note that a set of double railroad tracks runs right through the middle of the city. It's not unusual for both streets that cross it to be blocked for a few hours by a parked train, as was the case on the day in question, but there's an overpass less than a quarter-mile up the road. I realize after a couple of mowing passes that there's a Mustang stopped at the stop sign by the house for probably a good minute and a half. The driver, too young to be a proper Karen, but definitely training up for it, is looking my general direction. But at first I think she's just looking at the train and trying to figure out how to get around it. But no, she's looking at me. So I turn the mower off and take off my headphones. I figure she just wants to ask me if there's a way around the train since we're sandwiched between two state routes, and it's a question I've been asked a few times before. I suck with names, so I'm just going to stick with the basics. Me and her. Me. Need something? Her. I was wondering, if you're mowing lawns, would you be willing to do mine once a week for $10? Not what I was expecting, but hey, I've heard worse offers. I use mowing for both exercise and time to hide in my own thoughts for a while. I decide to at least poke at it a bit. Me. I'm mowing my lawn. I live here. But maybe depends on the yard and how local you are. Her. Oh, I'm just up on street. At this point, I recognize her car, so I know roughly where she lives. Her lawn's probably 2 acres and made of hills. I don't need that much exercise or me time. Me. Sorry, but no, that's her interrupting and huffing. What? Is $10 not enough? Kids these days. Honestly, when I was in high school, I would have been happy to earn an extra $10 a week. I'm not a kid. I'm 6'3", and while I do look young for my age, I was in my mid-40s at the time. Sure, I was wearing one of my old technical college t-shirts, but my mustache and goatee are starting to go gray for crying out loud. Me, after looking at her for a moment, pardon me, but how old are you? Her, sneering, I don't see what that has to do with anything, but I'm 26. Me, sighs and eye rolls, kid, I was out of high school before your parents ever bleeped. I still feel kind of bad about being the one to initiate cursing, but it definitely got her attention. Yay for precision F strikes, I guess. And with that, I put my headphones back on and started the mower while she was just inarticulately sputtering at me. I'm pretty sure she tried to say something else, but it was lost to engine noise and music. Seriously? Either she couldn't see or she just didn't want to see the change in your hair color. Some people's sense of entitlement blinds them to clear facts right in front of their faces. Well done. And our second story. Karen storms into our home like she owns it. Turns out she can't read a door plaque. I grew up in France in a charming old Haussmann-style apartment building. Classic mid to late 1800s Parisian architecture. For anyone unfamiliar, these buildings are known for their symmetry, wrought iron balconies, and stone facades. We lived on the first floor, which, for my American friends, means the second floor by U.S. standards. It was a weekend afternoon, which I remembered because I was home instead of at school. I was just lounging around when the doorbell rang. Being the closest one to the door, I casually went to answer it. Nothing unusual. We didn't have tons of visitors, but it wasn't rare either. I opened the door to find a woman I didn't recognize standing there, mid-40s, sharply dressed, but with an energy that screamed high maintenance. Let's call her Karen. Hello? I greeted, a little confused. She didn't answer. Instead, she pushed right past me. Let me repeat that. This complete stranger physically pushed past me and walked straight into our apartment. I just stood there, stunned. I wasn't used to strangers even touching me, let alone shoving me out of the way to let themselves in. My first thought was, Okay, maybe she's a friend of my parents, someone from work? At the time, I was a socially awkward teen, not the kind to confront adults, especially pushy ones. I watched bewildered as she looked around the entrance hall, saw the bench we use for putting on shoes, and flopped down on it with a sigh like she owned the place. Still unsure what was happening, I quietly walked to the bathroom and knocked on the door. My dad was in the middle of drying his hair, but had heard the doorbell. He opened the door, shirtless but in pants, holding a towel. "Who is that?" he asked. "There's a woman in the entrance," I said, still rattled. She didn't say who she was, just pushed past me and sat down. My dad paused, towel in hand, giving me a sharp look as if to say, "You've got to be kidding me." "She did what?" he said, already annoyed. He threw on a shirt and marched to the entrance. I trailed behind, but stopped in the hallway, listening from around the corner, half embarrassed, half curious, definitely not ready to face her again. My dad, polite but clearly not in the mood for nonsense, addressed her. "Hello, what can I do for you?" Karen looked up, apparently unbothered. "Hi, I have an appointment," she said, like she was talking to a secretary who'd kept her waiting for too long. My dad raised an eyebrow. "You have an appointment in my home that allows you to just walk in past my daughter without introducing yourself?" There was a pause, then came the gasp. "Well, you shouldn't let your daughter answer the door then," Karen snapped. "I thought she was the receptionist." My dad stared at her. "We don't have a receptionist in our home. Do you?" She blinked. "But I have an appointment." "With whom?" he asked flatly. She faltered. "I thought this was the lawyer's office." There it was, the penny finally dropped. My dad sighed deeply, doing his best to stay civil. "No, it isn't," he said, "and it's clearly marked that the law office is upstairs. There's no plaque on our door, no indication this is a business. I'm sure someone told you the correct floor when they let you in the building. Now kindly leave." There was a beat of silence, then the door opened and closed. Karen was gone. My dad came back down the hallway and gave me a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Next time someone shows up and you don't recognize them," he said with a half smile, "just tell them the lawyers are upstairs." From then on, I did. And sure enough, over the next few years, we got our fair share of misplaced doorbell rings. People looking confused, people asking about legal appointments. But fortunately, no one else ever forced their way in again like Karen did. At the time, I had no idea there even was a law office upstairs. It made the whole thing feel surreal. One minute I was enjoying a lazy afternoon, the next I was being shoved aside by a stranger who thought I was staff. Looking back, it's almost funny how entitled she acted. Marching into someone's home, misreading the situation completely, and then getting defensive when called out. But when you're a teenager caught off guard, it's just confusing and awkward. Now I laugh about it, and I triple-check intercom panels before ringing any doorbell that isn't mine. I would have gone up to visit the lawyers right after that woman asked them about pressing charges for invasion/trespassing and assault. That would have been an interesting afternoon. And our last story. Karen thinks I'm too young to be a veteran. So this happened a couple of weeks ago at a Lowe's in Central Texas. I, 34-year-old male, former active duty Air Force, now Air National Guard, was stopping by to grab a replacement part for my water heater. It was mid-afternoon, so the lot was mostly empty, including the 4 reserve spots up front for veterans and military. Since I was wearing a polo and jeans and not a hat that screams "I served," I guess I didn't look the part, but I parked in a veteran-designated spot because, I am one. Not 10 steps toward the entrance, I hear the cough, followed by a shrill voice. "Excuse me, you can't park there." I turn around and see her, mid-50s, bleached blonde bob, oversized sunglasses even though it's cloudy, pushing a cart with 3 measly succulents in it like she's about to furnish Versailles. Me. "Sorry, you talking to me?" Karen. "That's a military parking spot. You can't just park there." Me. "Right, that's why I did. I'm a vet." Karen. "You're what, 30? You don't look like a veteran." Me, deadpan. "Major, OP, 7 years active duty, 3 deployments, 62 combat missions. I earned this plate." I turned and started walking away. I thought, hoped, that would be the end of it. Inside Lowe's, I'm in the plumbing aisle texting my wife about the size of the water heater connector when I hear that same voice behind me again. Karen. "People like you make me sick. Wearing dog tags you bought off eBay, taking spots from real heroes." I turned around, and this time she's filming me. Karen, this guy is impersonating a veteran to park in military spaces. Disgusting. I tried reasoning. Me, ma'am, I have a veteran plate and ID. Would you like me to show you my DD-214? Karen, fake. Anyone can make that stuff. I'm friends with the sheriff, and I'm reporting you for stolen valor. Now, I don't normally lose my cool, but I was done. Me, ma'am, if you keep harassing me, I will call the police and report you for harassment and defamation. She looked stunned, then tried to snatch my phone. Yep, she physically reached over and grabbed at my phone, digging her nails into my wrist in the process. That was it. I stepped back, raised my voice enough for others to hear. Me, ma'am, step away. You just assaulted me. You're being recorded. An employee came over just as Karen was sputtering that she was only defending the honor of real veterans. I showed the employee the scratch on my wrist and asked him to call the cops. She tried to bolt, abandoning her cart and everything, but security had already locked the automatic doors. Police arrived within 10 minutes. I gave them a statement and showed my ID, my veteran plate registration, and my guard badge. Karen? She was still insisting that I was impersonating a veteran and accused me of attacking her. Too bad for her, multiple employees and other customers had seen the whole thing. One woman even had footage of Karen grabbing me. Karen was arrested for assault and disorderly conduct. She screamed the whole way into the squad car, promising that my husband knows the mayor and that this isn't over. Well, it was. Aftermath. I pressed charges. She ended up with a fine and a court-ordered anger management class. Her husband, who turned out to be a retired Navy vet, later showed up at my house to apologize on her behalf. He was mortified. Said she gets a little dramatic sometimes. Understatement of the year. Now every time I go to Lowe's, the staff waves at me like I'm a regular. And Karen, according to the grapevine, she's been banned from that Lowe's and 2 others in the area. Imagine thinking you're the gatekeeper of who looks like a veteran based on fashion choices. But what really pushed it into absurdity was her doubling down, harassing, filming, and then physically assaulting someone because she couldn't handle being wrong. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.